impressions and clicks mean really nothing. A conversion rate or a cost per lead is better than nothing, but it's not great. We need better source of truths for our marketing, and it can't be Google Analytics. Google Analytics is kind of in some ways dying. It's not a great product. What I've always done with my SEO is I've always boiled it down to like the 3 C's, the content, code, and connections of SEO. And there's parts of SEO that apply to AI, and there's parts of AI that apply to SEO. They're not completely separate things. Content is one of those things where if you don't say it on your website and you're relying on third-party validation, you're going to struggle to rank in Google. You're also going to struggle to rank with LLMs. The software is nice, but it just tells the story of where you're strong and where you're weak. And then we go fix the weaknesses and turn the weaknesses into strengths. And then you can expect results.
Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to your show, E-Coffee with Experts. This is your host, Ranmay here. And today we have Kevin Pike, who is the president and owner at RankFuse Digital Marketing with us. Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
It's going good.
Lovely. Kevin, before we move any forward, why don't you talk us through your journey a bit, how it all started, how SEO happened. And we're from a generation wherein we cannot really say that we planned our careers in SEO, right? So
Yeah.
How it all happened, and also a bit about RankFuse, your agency, what do you guys do, what are your core offerings, and then we will take it off from there.
Perfect. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. I started in SEO probably about around 2004. You can tell I'm an old man. I've been doing this for a while now, and I used to, I've been doing it since I had hair. And started off as a necessity because it really wasn't like a school for it. I didn't go to college and get a degree in it. I really don't think you can even do that today, but we needed an SEO solution. I started off as a paid media person doing Google ads. I was even doing Yahoo ads back when Yahoo was a thing. So I started off back then. I did enough research and enough homework to be a web developer and start dabbling into SEO. So I knew enough to be dangerous. I knew what titles and meta tags were. And then I started playing with, kind of reverse engineering what's working on Google, what's not working on Google. I went to the trade shows back when like search engine was it SMX and Danny Sullivan and some of those, guys were out doing the conference tours. I was paying attention to those guys, reading articles every day off of Search Engine Watch and Search Engine Land and Moz and, listening to all those, Whiteboard Friday videos and really trying to get my feet underneath me as kind of like what SEO is and kind of all the ins and outs that go into it. So since then, I've probably done 1,000 website audits and optimized, thousands of websites and helped a lot of business owners since then. But early days was just trying to figure it out.
Lovely. First things first, hair has nothing to do with age.
Well, I wish I had some. And what I do have is turning gray now. So it's getting up there. Yeah.
Right. So, you have seen enough summers and winters in the industry, Kevin, now, right?
Yeah.
Before we go into AI stuff, let's talk about Google a bit, with so many updates, and so much of time that you've spent in the industry. What is that one update which you feel, had the most impact on the industry?
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't know if there's one out there. What I've always done with my SEO is I've always boiled it down to like the 3 C's, the content, code, and connections of SEO. And as long as you've always had good content, as long as your code's always been optimized, and you've always kind of been that third C, which is connections or whatever you want to call it, backlinks, backlinks, domain authority, page rank, all that stuff. The algorithm updates haven't affected us because we're not chasing dark arts and doing things that we shouldn't be doing. We're always trying to do the right thing. So when Google came out with the Panda update or the Penguin update, it affected a lot of people, but though they were always doing things that were like bending the dark arts maybe in their favor. And we were always like, don't chase doing that. Yes, probably back then I was maybe getting away with like e-zine articles, remember those? I don't know if you've been around that long, but we were doing like e-zine articles, like you're getting backlinks from e-zine. Like obviously that changed because those were crappy backlinks to begin with, but those things were Panda or Penguin or mobile first responsiveness made a bigger play. Those were all major updates. But if you were doing things the right way, 5 years, 3 years, 2 years before those updates even hit, you didn't get impacted as much. So from where I've always stood, I'm trying to do things the right way from the beginning, and that doesn't really impact me as much.
Absolutely. And you started RankFuse as a white label back office engine and later pivoted to a full service agency. So what triggered that decision making?
Well, a lot of my early days when I started SEO was I was the only guy in town that really knew how to do what I did. And then there might have been two guys or three guys. And so a lot of the agencies they didn't know how to hire the position. They didn't maybe have enough work to fill a full-time job. So why not 1099 me and hire me and, kind of do that white label agency stuff. So that was an easy in for me to make those relationships because there really was early days of SEO. And I think what happened over time, and even as I'm looking at hiring SEO employees for my own agency, a lot of these resumes I'm getting now are 20-year-olds who might have a couple of years of experience in-house at a small mom and pop type of business, who they were the SEO person, they were the social media person, they were the Google ads person, they were the email marketing person. They just wore all the marketing hats. And that's where I started seeing the tide shift. People are not looking to hire agencies, or agencies are either onboarding those people in-house. They're hiring SEOs more in-house. They're not outsourcing it and white labeling it as much, or they're looking to hire some 20-year-old who can do all these things. Can they do it at the level that we're doing it at? No, but my clientele is a lot of SMBs who don't have $100,000, $200,000 SEO budgets. They're trying to get as much bang for their buck as they can. So that's where I saw this shift to where it's going to be better for me in the long run to have more direct client relationships and lean and rely less on agencies who are starting to fill these positions in-house.
And when you start your own agency, Kevin, you do quite literally everything that is there to be done. I mean, you're
Right.
selling, you're delivering, you're handling operations, you're hiring, you're trying to make the team be the HR, and then you're doing books, you're the finance. So you're wearing multiple hats. So, and to keep the lights on, you need to have clients and all that stuff as well, right? So how challenging was it the initial few months, And I mean, what things worked for you in terms of overcoming those challenges?
Good question. I think I didn't have operational challenges were not hard for me. Sales was not hard for me. Knowing the business and how to run the business was my leg in the door. I had been in the trenches across the board. I knew how to do paid media. I knew how to do SEO. I knew how to do web development. I have done that at other agencies prior to me starting my own agency. I was always an agency guy. I worked my way up through agencies to become the director of digital marketing, and I knew how to do everybody's job below me. So when I went out and started my own agency and I had to wear all the hats, it was an easy glove to put on because I've done that before.
Hmm.
And luckily enough, the challenges for sales was nice enough to me that I had a pretty good ramp or runway out the door because my phone rang without me having to run thousands of dollars in ads every month. I had enough income coming in to where I could start kind of becoming a single freelancer working out of my basement. There was no rent, there was no overhead, there was no other employees then, so it wasn't too hard for me to get out the door.
And when you look at your agency growth today, what are like the two or three growth levers that actually, revenue?
Good question. I think, I might even be facing some of those challenges still because I'm always looking to grow. I think honestly, most business owners, most people that I talk to in the agency space, like me, they get to that 1 million or $2 million revenue mark. And then it gets real hard, right? They're like, it was easy for me to maybe get, up to, when I was wearing everything, all the hats, I could, I could be a 6 figure company, by myself. When I started adding employees, now I have to be above 1 million and I have to keep growing that, but I can't wear all the hats. I got to rely on them. So there's
Mhm.
definitely some benchmarks where you're like a kick-ass, entrepreneur doing all the things yourself and you're like the freelance guru. But as you scale and as you start, writing bigger checks every month for rent and all the software and all the tools and all the things you need, it gets harder and harder. And so I think at some level, if you become the you can no longer be the boutique agency that does custom one-off service solutions for all these different companies. You have to start having processes and packages and kind of focus in on what works and what you can rubber stamp or replicate at scale with those employees. Because if you don't do that and you're always chasing custom work, custom solutions, your exponential growth gets harder and harder and your margins don't grow. You're just working harder for the same amount of money. So why do that?
All right.
I don't know if you agree or not, but that's my thoughts.
No, I get it. I mean, every agency, while we kind of offer the same solution, to the market, but the way we operate at the back end of it can be different to another agency which kind of exactly has the same offering, right? So
Yeah.
every business owner has a way of functioning their business. So yeah, I get it,
Yeah,
right?
I think you did a good you did something smart, which is you kind of came out with products. You productize things. You have a software and a SaaS solution to where the service isn't the only thing, right? Once you can
Mhm.
start doing some of those kinds of things, then you can really start to scale.
Hey, we hope you're enjoying the coffee and the conversation so far. This show is powered by Digital Web Solutions, and if you've ever wondered how the biggest brands actually build authority, this is it. DWS has a massive network of over 250,000 publishers, real sites that help you rank on Google, and more importantly, stay visible in AI search. It's the heavy lifting most teams just can't do on their own. As a thank you for listening, they're offering an exclusive free strategy call just for our eCoffee listeners. It's a great way to map out your authority plan for 2026. Just click the link below to book yours and see how they can help scale your brand. All right, now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the core team, we are techies, and we were quite literally tired of paying hefty subscriptions. Would not name tools, but yeah, initially, when we were starting out,
Yeah,
right? Like you said, writing big checks for the rent. So we said, how can we actually, do something in house and not really have to pay for everything that we want to achieve for our clients? And then we said, if it is about rank tracking, that was primarily what it was at that point. You would relate to it, keywords and where are you ranking, the visibility, and it was not that complicated. So we said we'll code it, and that is
yeah.
how our product Rank Watch was born. And then we kept on adding more layers to it. And right now it's a different revenue model for us, a separate do for entry for new clients and all of that. So yes, that has worked in our favor.
And it's an asset that you own that you've created that makes you, I guess, if you're looking for an exit strategy, it gives you kind of a little bit more of a leg up there too, as people look to buy and sell companies. Having your own solutions and service and processes in house that are built on
Yes.
that, it just scales nicely. Yeah,
It also helps reducing the dependency on other platforms vendors, like a complete suite of solutions. And obviously, I mean, it helps your valuation as well,
yeah,
when you have your own SaaS setup, all built in house. So
yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Angel investors love that kind of stuff.
yeah. And I mean, we're not selling it, but just saying
Yeah, it's
that.
this thing. Yeah, down the road, whatever.
Yeah. And what started as a uh, thing we thought will kind of cut costs and save money and build something on our own really helped us scale. So I think it's a story with most of the SaaS products wherein they start doing something to help their own requirements and then feel it is scalable and then they scale it up, right? So at least the old
Yeah,
school SaaS products, most of them, right?
yeah,
So moving on, let's get to AI, Kevin.
sure.
3 years now, more than 3 years, but last 6 months has been really, really fast in terms of how many products have been there, the usage of AI, how it has changed the way we operate, especially in the SEO scheme of things, right? So how has your approach, evolved for the market for your target clients, both in terms of pricing and in terms of operations, that because it has now shifted from just SEO deliverables to business outcomes and now AI driven visibility.
Yeah, I think that's important. You hit the nail on the head. Business outcomes are something that a lot of small business, medium sized businesses have always struggled with. They don't love. I have a lot of clients that are on HubSpot or on Salesforce or Pardot or SharpSpring or pick one, right? And they haven't had a full implementation yet. And they're struggling with their workflows. They're struggling to connect revenues to leads or those kinds of service-based companies. And AI has come a long way for us in the near term to where it's like you need to stop operating in the dark when it comes to your marketing. It definitely can't be vanity metrics.
Mhm.
Impressions and clicks mean really nothing. A conversion rate or a cost per lead is better than nothing, but it's not great. Why don't we get past that? Why don't we get to the MQLs, the SQLs, and the revenue to understand fully what the lift is on your, oops, lost my earbud, on the actual CRM level, right? We need
Mhm.
better source of truths for our marketing, and it can't be Google Analytics. Google Analytics is kind of in some ways dying. It's not a great product. And so we're starting to try to get more into CRM when it comes to AI and using AI agents to build better CRMs.
And what role, as per you, does third-party validations like high authority backlinks, mentions, citations, play in influencing how AI systems are looking at your visibility overall compared to your own content?
That's a very timely question because I think I just read an article where AI is shifting in that market. There's like early ChatGPT was definitely more citation focused. And maybe now it's starting to realize that people can game the citation game, which is let me back up. The Venn diagram of SEO, that circle, and the AEO, answer engine optimization. There's a crossover, right? Like there's parts of SEO that apply to AI, and there's parts of AI that apply to SEO. They're not completely separate things. Content is one of those things where if you don't say it on your website and you're relying on third-party validation, you're going to struggle to rank in Google. You're also going to struggle to rank with LLMs. We're definitely using tools and third-party platforms to measure both. Search Console, Google Analytics, SEO tools, we've been using those for years and years. Those are going to continue to stay around. There's AI, LLM tools now that go out and check prompt rankings every day across ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, name it, Google AI overviews. We are adopting those tools now. So we have a software component, and then we have a service component that goes with that. And with the software and the service combined, we are charging our clients to not only use the software to monitor and use it for reporting, but use it as a source of truth to understand what do we need to do in the service capacity to lift these prompt rankings up. If it's on-page copy and your website sucks or whatever, we'll fix that. If it's off-page, if it's backlinks, if it's citations. I'll say it because we're in the digital marketing space. I wasn't doing very well with LLMs, and then I saw who was doing well, and then I saw why they were doing well. I fixed some things on my website, and it wasn't an LLMS.txt, or it wasn't that. It wasn't the file. That's not going to do it. I fixed some things on my website. And then I looked at I think Clutch, Expertise. For whatever reason, ChatGPT and Gemini love those sources. So I'm like, here we go. Let's play the game. I got more reviews there. I paid my fees. I got my listing all optimized there. And voila, I'm now the number one SEO company in Kansas for whatever that's worth.
Brilliant.
I don't know why. Probably no one's searching for that. But if you ask ChatGPT, right? So there's all those things that we have to reverse engineer, use the software, and then have a service built on to that, because the software is nice, but it just tells the story of where you're strong and where you're weak. And then we go fix the weaknesses and turn the weaknesses into strengths. And then you can expect results.
Absolutely. With all this, what do you call it, by the way? Do you address it as AI SEO, GEO, AEO? I don't know how many.
It can be anything. I'm open to it. AI SEO, ChatGPT optimization. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. Depends on who my audience is. Honestly, if I'm talking to a marketing professional or if I'm talking to a plumber, it's going to be two different words. It's just doesn't really. Roofing companies don't care what you call as long as they show up.
Absolutely. Now, AI chatbot traffic is really growing fast here, but it's still far behind search. So as much as noise there is about visibility on AI and LLMs, how do you feel brands should actually realistically balance SEO versus AEO investment plus strategies today?
It's a good question. And I think to me, it's almost one bucket. It's not two separate buckets when it comes to off page and not your web. I think investing in content and technical SEO should be kind of it's kind of like, the table stakes for both. You got to do both. When it comes to off page SEO budget, I think it's kind of like PR budget. It's kind of one of those things too. Like some companies have PR agencies, and PR agencies charge a lot of money. Like PR companies will charge you 10, 20 grand a month. SEO companies may be like, your backlink budget can be a lot less than that. It can be, a couple grand. So what happens when you bolt on the AI model to that? It becomes a PR meets old school SEO backlinking game. And maybe your budget needs to go up 5 grand or something, because it's not that the agency is always making more money on this. Like, I'm not trying to make an extra buck here. I'm trying to be your successful agency who goes, you need to buy Clutch. You need to buy Expertise. And that's just for the digital marketing game. In the roofing space, it might be something else. And in the SaaS software space, it might be the Gartner report and the G2 report and all the other reports that come out that for ChatGPT and Gemini and all those AIs lean to those methods. So those are expensive. I know Gartner's like super expensive, but if you want to play the game, you got to play the game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%, 100%, Kevin. And then, finally, like we started off, you have been in the industry for quite some time now. For our young listeners today, Kevin, who are trying to, make a mark in the digital marketing, SEO, AIO space, and even for our listeners who are trying to start their own agency, go through the grind and make it big, what is that, one piece of advice, a couple of important things you would want them to kind of keep in mind while starting or through the journey as well?
Good question. I think what's made me successful, I guess, to this point is, do good work. Clients come first, client service, always focus on the outcome with your customer, be invested in them, try to be a partner with them more than a vendor for them. And I think you're going to be in a much better spot. If your clients are treating you like a vendor, you're replaceable. You're just another expenditure on their P&L. But if you're talking to them and you're having conversations with them and you're partnering with them as if you are a W-2 on their staff, they're going to start seeing you as an asset, and they're going to come to you more often, and they're going to value your opinion, and they're going to understand that you're not just trying to make a buck out of them. You're trying to do what's right. And I think that's kind of my Midwestern, Kansas approach, but that's kind of honestly what I think works in this space. I'm not trying to be slick. I'm not trying to be salesy. I'm just trying to do good work and make people happy.
Lovely point there. Now, Kevin, before we wrap this up, a quick rapid fire. Are you game for it?
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right.
I don't know if I can do rapid fire. I'm a long-winded person, so this might be a challenge for me.
Okay, let's do it. SEO was easy for you, dude. So let's make this a bit difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Last Google search or AI search, chat search, Claude search, whatever it is.
Turn this website into a Elementor JSON template script.
Okay. Your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Celebrity crush?
I like Megan Fox, I guess.
First thing you did with first paycheck of your life?
Hardee's, fast food.
Okay.
Working the drive-through.
If you have the opportunity to turn the clock back, go back in time and change that one thing about your professional journey, if there is, what would that be?
Start my own business sooner.
Okay.
I say that not ever thinking I was ever going to start a business. I kind of accidentally became a business owner.
Okay. All right. Where do we find you on Friday evenings after office or after work?
Well, I have 2 kids in high school right now. So basketball games, kids sporting events usually.
Oh, okay. Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. All right, Kevin, you have been a sport. We'll not grill you any further. Thank you so much once again for taking out time to do this with us. And before we call it a day, for our audiences, if they want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
RankFuse. Google it, Twitter it, Instagram, anything at RankFuse. That's my brand. So you can find me there.
And he's all over.
It's all over the place.
Perfect, Kevin. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Bye-bye.